Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the fascinating psychology behind people who actively choose to stay single. We're talking about the hidden, profound power of absolute solitude. If you've ever felt completely content just doing your own thing, only to be met with total confusion or even pushback from the world around you, well, you're in the right place. We're going to unpack what we call the sovereign mind. We'll look at the deep, often totally misunderstood psychological reasons why some people actually prefer to keep their doors closed. Let's peel back the layers here, because the societal narrative we've all been fed, it's missing a massive piece of the puzzle. So picture this. You're at a social gathering, right? Having a genuinely good time, chatting it up, and then, bam, the inevitable question drops. So, are you seeing anyone? You smile, you say no, and instantly, you get that look. You know the exact one I'm talking about. Pity. They do that little sympathetic head tilt, maybe even reach out and touch your arm like, oh, don't worry, the right person is still out there. It's wild. They literally act like you're suffering from some kind of chronic illness. It's this highly predictable, knee-jerk social reflex, and honestly, it can be utterly exhausting to navigate. But here's what's so fascinating about that interaction. There's a massive disconnect between what people think is happening and the actual reality. Society loves to look at chronically single folks and make this brutal, entirely flawed assumption. They assume you're lonely, maybe a bit broken, or just secretly desperate to find your other half to make you whole. But the reality? The reality is your psychological standards are just too high. You aren't lacking something essential. You're demanding more. You've just reached a point where the baseline, everyday offerings of casual relationships simply do not meet the requirements of the life you've curated. Let's take a beat here. What if society has it completely backwards? Seriously, what if staying single isn't a failure at love at all, but rather a glaring sign that you absolutely refuse to play modern relationship games? When you shift your perspective to that, it entirely flips the script. You aren't a passive victim of your romantic circumstances. You're the architect. You're actively choosing the structure of your life, deliberately opting out of a system that, let's be real, often prioritizes just settling down over finding genuine alignment. And that realization completely changes the game. For the chronically single person, the ultimate currency isn't companionship, it's peace. To truly understand someone who actively stays single, you have to get that their brain is wired totally differently when it comes to solitude. Being alone isn't a punishment to you. It's not some isolating exile. It's a sanctuary. And the peace you've built, it is incredibly expensive. You didn't just stumble across it on a random Tuesday. You fought for it. You went through years of healing, self-discovery, and navigating past chaos to get there. It's a deliberate fortress. You see a really stark contrast when you look at how different mindsets handle personal boundaries. For a lot of average folks, the fear of being alone is just absolutely terrifying. They'll put up with toxic behavior, endless drama, and massive disrespect just to have anyone, sleeping next to them. They'll literally compromise their core values to avoid an empty room. But the sovereign mind? That operates on a totally different level. You value peace above all else. You refuse entry into your life unless someone is actively adding to that peace. If a connection brings more anxiety than joy, that door stays locked, period. Now, it's crucial to understand there's a deeper psychological engine driving this guardedness. It's born from a really painful lived lesson. Relying on others often leads to disappointment. In psychology, this is called hyper-independence. Somewhere along the line, you learn the hard way that relying on others is fundamentally unsafe. This extreme self-reliance isn't just some quirky personality trait. It's a psychological trauma shield. It's a highly effective, deeply ingrained mechanism designed to keep you from ever experiencing that horrible, rug pulled out from under you feeling again. You literally taught yourself to be your own safety net. Let the profound weight of this sink in for a second, because this is the absolute core truth of self-reliance. The only person who will never abandon you, manipulate you, or drain your energy is you. When you truly, deeply internalize that concept, you stop searching the horizon for a savior. You realize you are the most dependable, safe, and secure force in your own life. You start showing up for yourself in all the ways you used to desperately hope someone else would. Of course, because you're so self-sufficient, people are going to get it wrong. They look at your unyielding boundaries and slap an external label on you. They call you guarded or claim you have commitment issues. But the internal truth? You aren't afraid of commitment, not at all. What you are actually terrified of is handing over the keys to your sanctuary to someone who might have the power, or just the sheer carelessness, to destroy the quiet, beautiful life you've so painstakingly built. You protect your space because you know exactly what it costs to build. And since you spend your time observing rather than participating, you get a front row seat to the sheer exhaustion of the modern relationship matrix. It's kind of like watching a bizarre social experiment from behind two-way glass. You see friends and colleagues constantly complaining about their partners, having massive day-ruining blowouts over a slightly misinterpreted text message, and literally sacrificing their own identities just to keep some failing, incompatible relationship on life support. You look at all that friction, all that drama, and you see the absolute draining reality of what people are willing to settle for. Watching all of that unfold, it brings this overwhelming sense of relief. Relief that you aren't stuck participating in those chaotic games just to avoid your own thoughts. You aren't single because you can't find anyone. No way. You are single because you decoded the matrix. You see exactly what people are willing to endure just so they don't have to face themselves in silence. And honestly, it makes your choice to stay single feel entirely rational, highly calculated, and immensely freeing. You just stepped right off the hamster wheel. We really have to draw a hard line here between being lonely and being alone. Being lonely is a deficit. It's a painful feeling of emptiness and longing. Being alone, though, that is a state of profound comfort in your own presence. By achieving that state, you have conquered something truly incredible. You can exist completely comfortably with yourself without needing any external validation to feel whole. It's a level of self-actualization that so many people go their entire lives without reaching, simply because they're terrified of the quiet. So if you ever find yourself exhausted by a world that constantly insists your life is incomplete without a romantic partner, remember this: your chosen solitude is not a sickness. It is an absolute superpower. Do not let loud, unhappy people shame you into lowering your standards. Don't let society's relentless noise breach your fortress. Stand firm, trust your intuition, and relentlessly prioritize your own peace and well-being over what everyone else expects of you. If this explainer felt like looking into a mirror today, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. What is the most peaceful, drama-free part of living your life completely on your own terms? Take a second to really think about your personal sanctuary. Recognize its immense value and hold tightly onto it. The sovereign mind is a rare, beautiful thing. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this today. Keep protecting your peace.